Africa is a continent comprising 54 sovereign states. It is the second largest and most populated continent. States in Africa and Africa as a continent is unarguably considered to be underdeveloped. Despite its rich natural untapped resources, millions of Africans flee to different parts of the world in search of a better life. There is nothing worse than inquiring, why is Africa underdeveloped? Is its richness in resource rhetoric or real? Why is its development resulted in colossal journey? Let us examine both from endo and exogenous ramifications. Hello and welcome to ETV World. I'm Tabitha John. Why is many Africans' livelihood so impoverished? Who has to decide their development? The ballot, the bullet, or borrowed dollars from others? Do stay with us. Africa is the lowest income region in the world. The issue of the continent's chronic underdevelopment and backwardness became a serious issue of the continent. Although endowed with enormous and almost inexhaustible resources, Africa lags behind the other continents in every facet of life, economically, technically, politically, and technologically. In most African countries, public utilities are perpetually camotes, forcing many Africans to live under some of the most horrifying socioeconomic conditions. A continent with more than 1.4 billion population and 55 sovereign states is known by its poverty. Many conclude that irresponsible and irresponsive leadership, vampirism and prodigality, corruption, lack of respect for democratic ideals, insecurity, and endemic civil wars, which are not legacies of the slave trade, Europe's past and present exploitation, economic instability, are the fundamental causes of Africa's underdevelopment. Wole Soyinka, a Nigerian playwright, novelist, poet, and essayist in the English language, avers that Africa's underdevelopment is the outcome of the twin evils of slavery and colonialism inflicted by the Western world. According to him, slavery and colonialism were two monumental historical events that dislocated Africa and aborted the continent's social, political, economic, and technological development. The legacy of slavery is so remote, rather than few groups who want to enslave Africans in the 21st century, riding the continent to the ocean of poverty. Scholars seem to agree that the fundamental cause of Africa's underdevelopment is corruption. Indeed, in a damning indictment of African political elites and concise summary of the immediate cause of Africa's underdevelopment, the Commission for Africa noted that Africa has suffered from governments that have looted the resources of their own states that could not or would not deliver services to their people. That, in many cases, were predatory, corruptly extracting their country's resources that maintain control through violence and bribery, and that have squandered and stolen aid money. Corruption depletes national resources and diverts desperately needed funds from education, healthcare, and other social services, dislocates the economy, and condemns the overwhelming majority of the people to illiteracy, hunger, poverty, misery, diseases, and eventually death. Indeed, a leader should normally be someone who rules, guides, and inspires others. An overwhelming majority of those who go by that title in Africa are not leaders, but leaders and vampires who litter their respective states with hunger, illiteracy, diseases, and death. Instead of building infrastructure, developing the economy, funding researchers to power and fuel technology, innovation, and modernization, most African leaders, as Moses Mungo said, have turned themselves into thieves in government houses. The UN has recently published a dark report on how Africa is robbed of billions of dollars by multinational companies from the developed North. $89 billion lost from Africa annually through various forms of corrupt practices by Western multinational companies that do business in Africa. Surprisingly, all this amount of corrupt practices are undertaken under the knowledge and participation of African leaders from top to lower hierarchy until recently. Therefore, those corrupt African leaders must admit that their malpractice is the source of underdevelopment of their own continent. Though several reasons can be mentioned, Transparency International report reveals that corruption creates and increases poverty and exclusion in Africa. While corrupt individuals with political power enjoy a lavish lifestyle, millions of Africans are deprived of their basic needs like food, health, education, housing, access to clean water, and sanitation. The same report said that nearly 75 million people in sub-Saharan Africa are estimated to have paid a bribe in the past year. Some to escape punishment by the police or courts, but many forced to pay to get access to the most basic services that they desperately need. Therefore, if we aspire a prosperous Africa, suitable for its citizens, free from independence of donations, every leader of the continent should exert efforts towards fighting corruption. The legacy of self-reinforcing and self-perpetuating corruption ecosystem loots the livelihoods of current and future generations of Africa. It should be reversed by collective collaboration besides fighting corrupt leaders and officials of the continent. The culture of blaming external actors has to end, and Africans should take the responsibility of their own destiny rather than trickle-down policy of the West. And let us conclude by the quote of Aikwe Arma, a Ghanaian writer, poet, and essayist, whose early years coincided with Ghana's long battle for independence. He said, "True, I used to see a lot of hope. I saw men tear down the veils behind which the truth had been hidden. But then the same men, when they have power in their hands at last, began to find the veils useful. They made many more. Life has not changed. Only some people have been growing, becoming different. That's all." And with that, we come to the end of today's program. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Goodbye for now.